Hey guys, Dudley and Rashad doing our deck profiles for our upcoming Widow Box this weekend. And I already did mine for Majin Buu, set 9, and Rashad's here to talk about his Super 17 build.
Yep. So I'm playing, obviously, the Super 17 leader. It's just one of the first burst two leaders to come out. You swing, burst two, draw one, untap two at 4 life to awaken. On his backside, you probably won't be using this activate main too often. The activate main says if your opponent has 10 or more cards in hand, they discard until they're down to 9. And his auto, when you have Spark and 5, you swing and you draw one, he gains critical. So that's the important part, the critical. And to start off, I am playing 4 copies of Hellfighter 17 Evil Revived. I am playing the Super 17 chain in this. I feel like it's honestly really strong right now with Tau being gone. The Hellfighter does have barrier, which saves it from a lot of the counter plays that are battle card related. And then Union Absorb, you absorb a 17 from hand or drop. You play a Super 17 on top of him. Energy cost 4, or I think it has to be 4 on the dot actually for this one, from your drop or your deck, which the leader burst helps with that, setting them up in the drop. And this 4 drop 17s I only play 2 copies of Super 17 of Further Heights. It has barrier and deflect. When you play it, you KO one of your opponent's battle cards, any energy cost, but it does not get around barrier. This has Union Absorb for 2 green, 2 of any color. You will absorb a cell from your hand or your drop, and you'll play a Super 17 energy cost of 6 from drop or deck on top of this. So this is the one that really goes up your chain. The reason I only play 2 is because you don't want to have too many, since you can play them out from the drop. You'll get this in there by bursting with your leader or with some other cards I have that allow me to send cards from my deck. And then I only play 1 copy of Super 17 The Infernal Machine. The reason being, I haven't found too many situations where I wanted to go into this card more than once. It's not the end of the world if I don't see it. What it does is has double strike. The permanent states that this effect, his attack can't be negated, and when you play it, you can discard 2, make your opponent discard 2. So if you're, there has been a game where I've played this just to drop 2 to lower my opponent's hand going into their turn, since I knew I couldn't game them, and just pass turn. So that's there. And then going into the 6 drop Super 17 Cell Absorbed. Once again, only play 2 since you play it from hand or drop. You'll get them in your drop when you need them. The card has critical, dual attack, and deflect. It's auto, sparking 10. When you swing with it, if your leader card is a green android, your opponent has to pitch 2 cards. So essentially, if they don't have a way to remove it from the first swing, this is a discard 4, 20k critical on your opponent's turn. And so this is really strong going in mid to late game for just reducing your opponent's hand, especially with the crit. You end up taking a lot of resources out with this. Next, I go on to my 17s. I'm playing 4 Android 17 and Pending Crisis. There are a couple cards from the deck that I want to send off this card's effect. It's a 1 green energy. It's a counter attack, 5k combo. So you negate and play it. And when you play this card, if your leader card is an android, you get to ditch a android that is 4 or less that has android in its character name when you play this out. And then it's a 5k combo afterwards. So you get a lot of value out of this card, and you get to send whatever you're missing from your drop as far as pieces that aren't Super 17 and Hellfighter pieces. And so on. Next, I do main 3 copies of Android 17 Titan Toppler. Uh, just my deck is green yellow, and this is a 17 that you can absorb with Hellfighter. The permanent on this card, if your leader card is an android card and your opponent has a battle card greater than their energy cost and you have no battle cards, you get to play this out for free. So that is a way to get a battle card on your board for free for a successor, which I do play a couple successor cards out in this deck. And when you play this card, you get to choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, negate its skills for the duration of the turn, and they can't be switched to active mode during your opponent's next charge phase. So it's just a generic good effects for boss monsters. Does not get around barrier though, so keep that in mind. And then on to a couple other Hellfighter cards here. I'm playing the Hellfighter 17, the Neutralizer. I just feel like this is a really great card right now. It's a counterplay if during your opponent's turn, reduce energy cost by 1. 1 yellow specified energy, so it's 2 drop counterplay in your opponent's turn. When you play this card or is placed in a drop area from a battle area by skill. You get to choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards and negate its skills for the turn. So this is kind of like a worse Cold Bloodlust in a sense, 2 energy, and it won't negate on-play autos, but it gets rid of other effects, and this is a really powerful card that has helped me a lot. Onto the cells that I play in my deck. Now, my leader is not a cell, so I don't get the effect for this, but this cell does have Android in its name, so you can send it off the negate. So it's a guaranteed way to get a cell in your drop to absorb with the 17 further heights to make sure you have a cell for your 6 drop. And so that's all there is to this. It does not have an effect because my leader is not a cell card. So I just use this to absorb. You could play the Infernal Villainy cell, but I didn't want to play a bunch of 10Ks in my deck. It is 10K when you combo with it to draw a card, but I just felt like the energy was needed elsewhere. Do play 4 of the green-yellow Checkland. If you actually play this card out, it states that you can choose 1 green and yellow multicolor card in your hand, place it in your drop area, choose 1 opponent's card in their combo area, and place it in their drop once per turn, activate battle. But I've never actually played this card out. It's just there for charge. Next, for my rival, I'm playing 3 copies of the Super Saiyan Broly All Out Assault. I didn't want to play 4 because I kept drawing too many of them, and when I didn't need them, this is a very strong card, but you really only need to resolve it twice a game, I felt like. I've never wanted to resolve 3, never needed to resolve 3. But it's a rival for 1 green and 1 yellow for having green-yellow in your energy or your combo area. And when you play it, you can KO one of your opponent's cards equal to or higher than their energy cost, or tap one of your opponent's cards and draw a card. So you can use this to tap leaders, tap energy, battle cards, as any problematic card. And then you also get the draw one, so you don't lose as much value out of it. And it's just a really good defensive card or offensive card if you want to go for game with it. Next, we are playing an Android leader, and we're going to play Cell Unthinkable Perfection at 3. This card has triple strike. You successor it out for 1 green, 1 yellow, 2 of any color. When you play this card with Successor, if your leader is an android, you get to look at your opponent's hand, choose 3 battle cards in it, send them to the drop, and then you get to negate the non-keyword skills on your opponent's leader, which that really does not come up very often unless you're playing against Hatch. But the fact that you get to look at their hand and then choose 3 cards, so you can get rid of 3 super combos, 3 combo pieces they need, and then this is a triple strike to close the game out, because by the time you're playing this card, your opponent's usually down to the 3 life area, maybe 4, because you're pretty much swinging with a lot of crits in this deck. If you haven't realized, you don't really do too much swinging with the regular cards. You just kind of use them for defense and to fuel the engine. Then we are playing 2 Cell Devour of the Masses, Successor for green-yellow. This combo is really well with the Broly. You get to tap something down with the Broly, draw a card, swing at a battle card if they have a battle card, or if you just need to get them down to a certain amount of life total because you're going for something, you do that, and then you can use it for Successor straight into this. When you play this card with Successor, you can choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, KO it, and your opponent has to discard a card. So it's just another way to get some problematic cards off the board. And also auto, when this card is removed from your battle area by an opponent's skill or KO'd, you draw 3 cards. So this is a 25 swing over and over that they have to be worried about how they remove it, or you get to go +3 off of it. On for some more defensive cards here, I'm playing 3 Vegeta the Cruel. It's just a really good 2-for-1 counterplay. Get rid of a battle card, and then your opponent has to warp a card from hand. Just really good staple if you're playing anything dual colored with green. And also going with 3 Champa to keep up my check with my green and yellow. Just in case I don't have the green-yellow super combo, you do need cards to combo off with for your arrival, because it is a very strong play that you will need to win games most of the time. Ignores barrier, gets around deflect, switch the card to rest, and you draw a card. So you keep your card advantage and get a swing off of you. On to my super combos, I am running 2-2 split. If I wasn't playing the Arrival Broly, I would honestly not play this and play 4 of the 18. This lets you send any green or yellow card, energy cost 4 or less, from your deck to your drop. So this is pretty much how you're guaranteed to see your pieces you need for your 17 chain. Between this and the negate, you will have everything you need in your drop. The 18, when you combo with it, your opponent has to choose a card in their hand and place it on the bottom of their deck. For a hand destruction themed deck, the 18 is way better, but this is a one card arrival for Broly while setting up your drop, so I just felt like I had to play at least 2 copies of it. Next, I am playing 2 copies of Create Android. I play this because I feel like I am running a decent amount of 1K cards, and like I said earlier, you don't want to have too many of them in your hand. If you draw into your 6 drops, you need them in the drop, you can do this versus combo on them off. What this card does is if your leader card's an Android, you get to draw 2 cards, choose 1 card in your hand, place it in your drop. So you get to draw 2 fresh cards and then discard 1, so you'll get a card discarded out for your 6 drop. Which is usually what you're going to discard. I charge this a good bit more than I played it, so I might swap this out for Shock and Death Ball in my main. It's been 50-50 for me in testing so far. And last 3 cards I'm playing are 3 copies of Flying Nimbus. Playing this because there's a good bit of yellow. There's a lot of aggro running around in my locals. It's just a very solid negate choice that keeps the pressure off me while I get my chain going because it's not a very fast deck. I'll move on to my sideboard. I am siding 2 copies of Super 17 Hellstorm on Leash. I side this in just for stall matchups. What this card does is successor for 2 green, 1 yellow. When you play it, you get to crit your opponent down to 4 life. And then every time it swings, you draw a card, and your opponent has to. You choose 2 of your opponent's cards to switch to rest mode, and it has critical. So another crit theme card, 30k crit, that gives you mad advantage. These 2 cards I'm playing pretty much for Invoker. This so I can get rid of Barrier to take care of the Vegeta, and this if a card has Barrier and I combo with it or play it, I get to pop it if it has Barrier. So both of these take care of the Vegeta for Invoker. This also just takes care of triple strikes and other things and maybe losing you the game. So these are pretty much just here for Invoker, getting rid of their Barrier card. I'm playing 2 Preemptive Strike. Just a good solid card to have in the side. If my opponent's playing a lot of cards with Barrier that will get around my Vegeta and Champa, I can always side a couple of those out the side into these. Just a generic counterplay for green. 2 Unexpected Turn for a lot of the Swarm decks. Just in case I have to play against U6 again, this card is very good against U6. There's a couple other Swarm decks that go around in my locals, and it's just a really good call for me, personally. Playing 2 Crisis Crusher Son Goku. There's a lot of decks that I've came across lately that this card is actually really good against. Cards with energy cost 1 or less can't swing, and then once per turn you get to KO 1 drop. So just generic removal for a lot of the weenie decks. Siding 2 Kami, also for Swarm like the Unexpected Turn, and just basically another target for the Swarm decks. That's all there is to that one. A lot of green-yellow leaders running around, so side Haru. This is just a great side card. Critical, you play it for 3, untap 4 energy. And another effect that a lot of people forget about, you can mill top 2 cards of your deck when you play this, which will help fill your drop for your Super 17 plays. And last card is a Fu the Dark Banisher. Very possibly getting rid of this for Fu Shroud of the Mystery. That card is infinitely better in my opinion. This is a very good card as well for only 4 energy. It's just this is going to be a card you play for win or lose basically, because once you warp your drop, that's pretty much the end of you playing your chain again and your Sparking 10 for this 6 drop. So this is end all be all. So I feel like Fu Shrouded might be the better choice, but that was my list that I'll be playing for the winner box. Thank you guys for watching.